looking at example 2, as of late 2017, the probability a randomly selected cell phone customer had purchased an iPhone for themselves was 43%, and it was 38% that they had purchased an Android phone for themselves. Suppose the probability the person purchased the new phone from Verizon is 29%. Okay, so first question, are the events purchased an iPhone and purchased an Android phone mutually exclusive or disjoint? Okay, those mean the same thing, mutually exclusive and disjoint, but you probably might not know what either one of those terms are, so let's define those first. Okay, so mutually exclusive, which is the same thing as disjoint, means this: the two events cannot happen simultaneously. Okay, so now knowing that, let's answer the question. Are the events purchased an iPhone and purchased an Android phone mutually exclusive? Okay, so if you are buying yourself a phone, can you buy yourself a phone that is an iPhone and an Android at the exact same time? No. Okay, no phone can be both at the same time. So these are mutually exclusive. So no phone is both Android and an iPhone at the same time. Okay. All right. Are the events purchased an iPhone and purchased from Verizon mutually exclusive? Okay, so can those happen at the same time or not? If they can happen at the same time, they are not mutually exclusive. If they cannot happen at the same time, then they are mutually exclusive. Okay, well, in this case, no, these would not be mutually exclusive events because you can purchase an iPhone at Verizon. Okay, so those are not mutually exclusive. All right, so can we find the probability that a customer, again, chosen at random, purchased an iPhone or an Android phone? Okay, can we figure out the probability that somebody at random in 2017 who'd purchased a phone that we could say, yes, they bought an iPhone or they bought an Android? Well, we should be able to by simply adding up the probabilities. So the 43% of people who bought an iPhone plus the 38% of people who bought an Android gives us a total of 81%, or again, 0.81. When we're talking about probabilities, remember our definition says we have to be a number between 0 and 1. Okay, 81% is not, but 0.81 is. All right, can we find the probability a customer purchases an iPhone or bought their phone from Verizon? Okay, can we find the probability somebody bought an iPhone or bought their phone from Verizon? I'm going to let you think about that for a second. Okay, pause the video if you need to, then come back and join me. Now, in this case, no, we cannot find this probability. Okay, no, we absolutely cannot. And the reason why is because those who bought from Verizon or who bought an iPhone from Horizon. Did I just say Horizon? I think I did. Those who bought an iPhone from Verizon would be counted twice as having bought an iPhone and again as buying from Verizon. Okay, so we're going to draw a picture of that so that you can start to see maybe if that's not clear to you. I think visuals always help, right? Okay, so let's look at parts C and D where we have that mutually exclusive scenario. okay, like part C. So that would be like, here are our iPhone people, and here are the Android people. Okay, they are not the same group of people. Okay, none of them are the same. They are two totally separate categories. We can put the iPhone people in one room and the Android people in the other. Okay, when we have a situation that's not mutually exclusive, like is described in part D, it would look more like this. These are your iPhone people. These are your Verizon people. And these are the ones that fall into the both of those categories. Okay, so we know how many people are in the iPhone circle. We know how many people are in the Verizon circle, but what we don't know is how many fall in that overlap. Okay, how many would have to stand kind of in the middle because they belong in both camps. All right, how many of you would have to be in the middle? And that's what we don't know. Okay, so that leads us to this idea of the general addition rule, which is, what do I do when there's stuff in the middle? Okay, how do we figure that out? So what we do is we find the probability of event A. Okay, let's say that's the iPhone users. We add to that the probability of event B. Let's say that's the Verizon users. So let me just real quick shade this in here. So there's my iPhone users. Okay, here are my Verizon purchasers. And notice where they crisscross in the middle, those are the people that got counted twice. So what we do is we subtract out the probability that A and B happened. Okay, what's the probability that people are in the middle? Now, one special note, if A and B are disjoint, okay, if there is no overlap, then notice the probability of A or B happening is the probability of A happening plus the probability of B happening. There is no overlap. Okay, oh, I should write up here at the top, sorry. This is the probability that A or B happens as well. Okay, so in general, rather than memorizing two separate rules, I always say when there's an or, okay, the word or means add, and then ask yourself if you need to subtract off anything because there was overlap. Okay, and then you only have to remember this first rule. Okay, or means add, and then ask yourself if I need to subtract anything because there's overlap. In other words, because some people got counted twice. So having said that, let's look at E at the top of the next page. Okay, let's say we know 7% of all those iPhone customers bought their phone at Verizon. Can we now find the probability a customer buys an iPhone or bought their phone from Verizon? Okay, so remember what I just said. We're going to use that same rule. So we're going to say or, so the probability of iPhone or Verizon. Or means add. So add the probability of an iPhone plus the probability of Verizon, and then subtract any overlap. So were there any people that have an iPhone and that phone is from Verizon? Yes, there are. Okay, so if you look back at the first scenario on the previous page, 43% of people bought an iPhone, 29% bought from Verizon, and we're going to subtract out that 7% of people who bought their iPhone from Verizon. Okay, and that will lead us to a total of 65%, or again, we're using decimal form here. Probability is a number between 0 and 1, so 0.65 is the probability somebody bought an iPhone or bought their phone from Verizon.